This is like my heart verse. Joshua 1, 6 through 9. Moses had just passed. He was the next leader for the Israelites. And God told him, in 3 verses, he tells him, be strong and courageous, which tells you it's a choice. What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Undeniable Mentality Podcast, where we seek out spiritual, physical, mental, personal, and professional things of your life. Today, we've got a very special guest with us, and this guy is an expert on Prey Drive. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, on how to package an idea. He's just a good man. He's actually one of our coaches at Alliance and has helped us develop the Undeniable Mentality name and how we want to package and bring it to market. And really has also been just a good guide for me on how to live out, the social media side of things with a spiritual foundation behind it. Today, we've got Coach Micheal Burt.
Glad to be here in my own house. No, I'm glad you're here at the Greatness Factory.
Yes, sir.
And this place is specifically curated for people to want to do bigger things and get a seat at the bigger table. So,
and this room is called,
it's the Level 10
studio.
Level 10 podcast studio.
And it's incredible.
Just a bigger opportunity, man. Just get in here and talk ideas and business and strategy and just want to do bigger things.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've done a really good job cultivating people who want to do big things. And it's been incredible to see. And, to that point, with the Greatness Factory and kind of, let's talk through this real quick about how this idea came through, this whole facility, because it's incredible. You got 3 stories here of just office space. You've got an auditorium, theater over there. I mean, everything you've got here has just got so much good energy. There's a lot of good immersion. I mean, tell me a little bit about how that came to fruition.
I was a women's basketball coach for 13, 14 years, basically 19 to 31, so I guess it's 12 years. And I don't know, moms and dads would bring me their kids and say they had a lot of potential and talent, and I would say thank you for bringing them to the Greatness Factory, where we're going to manufacture their greatness. And literally, you're in the engineering business, so you understand it was literally like a factory. Like we put those kids into this system, and they learn the 7 habits. And I was the first coach in high school girls basketball to have a full-time strength and conditioning coach in 1999.
Yeah.
And I said I want them to be bigger and faster and stronger. And so they would go into this mental lab and physical lab. And I was teaching whole person theory even back then, body, mind, heart, and spirit, in a public school.
Which is incredible.
So we had all this training, and we literally, over a cycle of time, manufacture greatness, which culminated in winning championships.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I retired, and I'm out in the business world, and somewhere along the way, I fell in love with real estate. I don't even know where it came from. I was traveling. I would see cool hotels and cool infrastructures, and I'd be like, man, I just love it. Yeah. What if I could combine my coaching with a great place that people could go to curate to get a seat at a bigger table?
Yeah.
And I everything starts in the mind, right? From mental to physical creation. I drew it up, paid like $100,000 for the plans, like 89. I had no idea what I was doing. Hired a very expensive architect, 89 pages.
How was that communication with that architect, by the way?
Rough.
And by the way, man, real estate is awesome.
Yeah.
That's why you fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So then I bought a piece of land. Then I tried to build it. It didn't work out. I had the piece of land. Then I went to another place, got kicked out of the building for having too much energy. Then finally I always say it's about $8 million in 8 years to build this thing.
Yeah.
But every day I come here, there's never been a day I've come here just to work that I go, this is a cool place to work at.
And it's incredible when you talk through stories like that, because people see it from the outside and they're like, well, he just has it. But I know for a fact going through that had to have been just such a growth, because we talk about quantum leaps and stuff like that all the time. And everybody, they don't see what's going on behind the scenes, the late nights or the sleepless nights and everything else. I mean, building a facility like this, unless you are seasoned and have done it over and over again, is an absolute, I don't want to say nightmare. It's a learning experience. It is definitely outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah. I'd never done that before. I'd never built something before. So, just understanding the cost. I remember when I was negotiating with Tony Giarratana, who we've got coming to the Greatness Factory, next week in Whiskey and Wisdom. And,
Ooh.
and
I need to sign
that's
up.
next
I need to
Thursday
get
night.
that. Yeah.
And he was going to give me $800,000 of build out, right? What they call tenant improvement. I'm going to buy this place for $4.4 million. He's going to give me $800,000 to build it out. And then in casual, kind of in passing, he goes, that won't even cover the MEP. And I go, what's he talking about?
You said, what's an MEP?
Yeah, I did. I go, what's he talking about? $800,000? And he was talking about mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Hey, I'm impressed.
Okay, and it didn't even cover that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, for the water, for the plumbing, for the mechanic. Like, what is he talking about?
I know.
Like, I didn't even know what he was talking about, right?
It's incredible.
And then I got into it, and it was probably $1 million+ for all those things.
Yeah.
And there's no water systems that were in here. It was hard to get water in here. It's just one big block.
Oh, it's all concrete.
The concrete.
Yeah.
It's trying to build bathrooms and this and that, and where to put the mechanical and where to put this. And we got offices, but we can't have a podcast studio here because there's something above it. And like it's, there's a lot of things I had no idea.
Yep.
But on balance, it's like anything else. There's things I like. I love everything about it. There's things I change, but for the most part, I'm real happy with it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it was an investment in learning too.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So one of the biggest things that you're well known for is Pray Drive.
Yep.
Did you come up with that before or after all of this?
Before.
Before.
I heard Pray Drive when I was 41 or 42.
Could you explain a little bit about Pray Drive and how that works?
Yeah, I was sitting in a workshop with a Vietnam veteran. He was in the War Dog division of the Vietnam War. Now, I'm speaking at a big event in June of this year, July, 7,500 financial advisors, international audience.
Right.
And one critique they gave me is they said, don't say Vietnam War. You can say war veteran because that is offensive to some people, who may be in the audience. And I said, okay. And so I was sitting with this war veteran. He was in the War Dog division of the Vietnam War. And he was just talking about Pray Drive of the animal, right? And it would go ahead of the infantry with nothing but a dog.
Yeah.
Okay? He wakes up in the middle of the war. He's out in the middle of a jungle. He goes ahead of the infantry. The dog's job is to sniff out bombs, booby traps, ambushes.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this, and he kept talking about the Pray Drive of the dog and the Pray Drive. And, man, I was fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And I go, what is Pray Drive? And I Googled it, and it was animals' ability to stalk, capture, and kill prey.
Yeah.
Instinctual ability to stalk, capture, and kill. I'm sitting there and I go, humans have a prey drive.
Yes.
It is their instinctual ability to see something with the eyes or in the mind.
Right.
And to pursue it.
Yeah.
And that could be everything from a partnership to a dream to a deal to a lead. You see it and you go get it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sitting there going, gosh, but so many humans it's not been activated.
Yeah, it has not.
Covey always talked about having birthday gifts that had never been opened. These were gifts you were given at birth by God that you've never found, you've never opened, you've never refined. Right. And so a lot of the Covey in me was like, we gotta unlock this thing. It's latent, it's undeveloped, it's dormant.
Yeah.
We got to unlock it. And then I become fascinated so I broke down and deconstructed the top 20 motivational theories. There's about 20 theories on motivation.
Right.
They all say the same thing. We move toward things we want.
Yes.
But what happens when we have everything we want? Satisfied needs never motivate, only unsatisfied needs. And so I started going, the real problem is this thing has been activated at some point in life, but it's been deactivated.
Right.
Life's knocked the shout out of people. They've given up. Yeah. They've settled. They've settled, they've cemented. That's a Tim storyline. And I go, I love these two words. Yeah. So I immediately trademarked those two words. And I go, I'm going to become an expert at activating that drive.
Right.
And that's what flipped the switch. It took me about two and a half years, a long process to write the book.
Well, you are excellent at it.
And that's really, so you say, what do you activate? Now I activate the person. I activate the business. Now my third dimension, which I'm really excited about, is activating the wealth.
Right.
You can invest with me now. I got these funds.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think it's too far off to say pretty soon you'll be able to invest in greatness factories. Of me saying I've got a fund that does not, you can invest in the concept of a greatness factory.
Right.
And we're going to go build more of these.
I love it. Well, and to that point, I think what a lot of people don't realize with Pray Drive, you talk about activate, which is a verb. It's an action.
Yes.
And, I think a lot of people consider it to be a gift. Well, they're just driven. They're just that way. And it's not. We all have that inside of us. And it's our decision. It's our choice to get up every day and be intentional about activating it out. There's been a lot of talks lately about the anterior singular cortex, which is a part of your brain that actually they have scientifically shown through studies that it will grow when you do things that you don't want to do. I'm not talking about hard things. I'm talking about things that you don't want to do, whether it's a cold plunge or having that tough conversation or getting up out of bed. It is a part of the brain that grows. And for people that are obese, it's little to none.
Wow.
They found that, athletes, which, we talk a lot about athletics just because of a lot of the good things that come out of it. Athletes, people, business professionals who have built companies and gone through and done really, really hard stuff, their anterior singular cortex, it's a mouthful, is very large. And so, a lot of people are starting to, people that have lived a long time have a larger anterior singular cortex. So they're even saying that it's kind of the center for the will to live. And to that point, it's a muscle. Your Pray Drive. All these things are things that you're exercising and trying to grow bigger and stronger. And, it does get a little bit easier because it's a habit that you're forming.
That's right.
But it's always has to be activated.
That's right.
As you talk about. So when I look at a place like this, and to your point, you came up with that idea prior to, if you didn't have the Pray Drive, if you didn't understand it about yourself, about how it worked, would it have held you back from creating this awesome facility?
Yeah, and I think to your point, Pray Drive, I always say, I could know my purpose and still not be motivated today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I could know my purpose. This is why I always say, and this is not a jab at Simon Sinek, but I could find my why and still be broke. I could find my why and still wake up and go, man, I don't want to do this today. I've been doing this for 30-some years.
Right.
And so could it's like motivation comes and goes. Pray Drive is the activation of it, but there's phases of it. It's got to be activated, number one. Number two, there's got to be a persistence to it.
Yeah.
And number three, there's got to be an intensity to it. Now, when you combo that with the study of the habits of the top 1%, the top 1% have a grit and resilience, and they have the ability to lock in.
Yeah.
Everybody's got dreams. Very few have the grit and resilience and the ability to lock in and see that dream through to its conclusion. Because this came with a lot of adversities. I had to put, at the last minute, almost $650,000 of my own personal cash in. That ended up being about $1 million. It took way longer to build. We had notes to pay, investors to pay back while we were not making any money for almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
So it's like very few people could have handled that.
No. Well, and you had to continue, and I think Ed Milet, he talks about, raising your thermostat.
Yep.
We're going through that right now. I was texting you the other day about, we're going through, so, Coach Burt has gone out, partnered up with Bryce Pritchett, who is just a absolute powerhouse, an incredible man. He's 82, and I mean, his mind is probably better than most 30-year-olds. It's just an incredible guy, built just an absolute, powerhouse of a company doing mergers and acquisitions, and has released several books on creating quantum leaps in your life.
Right.
And you and I were texting the other day about, sometimes you go through these quantum leaps and you go through these periods where you're just grinding it.
Yep.
And you feel like things may spin out of control a little bit. You're in over your head, and that's a great place to be. And I always go back when I get through those times, I either, I'll text somebody just to kind of talk through it. But Micah and I were talking about this. Micah's my wife, and we were talking about, I told her, I said, when we're 85, 90, how do we want to look back on our life? Would you rather have done this stuff and it not worked out?
Yep.
Or it will, or would you rather just go through life steady and get to that point and be, I wish I had done that stuff? And a lot of it boils down to what you were talking about. You hear all this crap about motivation.
Yep.
And it's an emotion.
Yeah.
And emotions are highly, you cannot count on them. But what you can count on is getting up every day and just sticking to the routine.
Yeah.
And to that point, when you have gone through seasons of doubt, just like you were talking about, when you're pouring all this money into this facility, you've got this dream, and you're staying up late, you're tired. What has really helped get you back into the game? Has it been through conversations, prayer? Has it been through just kind of going back to square one?
Well, I think it's a formula of, as I don't live in mental creation, I live in physical action. What is the cure for all of my fear is work the muscle.
Yeah.
Get into action.
Right.
Get out there and make it work. I ain't got time to whine and complain about it. Like, okay, I got this facility. How do we rent the theater? How do we keep the podcast studio going? How do we get people in it? How do we utilize it? Like, it's an unactivated asset. And it's not going to activate itself. So it's like, what's the next physical action we could take?
Yes.
And what I found in life is that people know the physical actions to take, but they think and stall and think and stall. And I'm a person that says, push. Okay, we signed up for this visitors convention bureau for this thing. Okay, we need to know those people. When's the first meeting we need to go? Who do we need to know? Do I need to get dressed up? What are we doing? It's like what people do is they kind of see something, but they should just take an action. And we call that going from mental creation into physical action.
Yeah. And I think the number one thing that I see, because we all deal with it, is fear.
Yeah.
Fear of it's all about to crumble. And so you don't make that next step. And I always go back. This is like my heart verse. Joshua 1, 6-9, where God tells him Moses had just passed. He was the next leader for the Israelites. And God told him, he said, be strong and courageous. And I'm not going to recite the verse, but I do have it all memorized. But in 3 verses, he tells him, be strong and courageous. Be strong and very courageous, which tells you it's a choice. Yeah. Courage is not without fear.
That's right.
And so we have the choice to let fear rule us, which it does most, and they stay in their comfort zone. And then you have, like you've learned, if you just take action. And man, sometimes if you don't know what to do, go to the gym.
Do something.
Go. Just go do burpees or something.
Go move. Yeah.
It may break that dam.
Yeah.
That's going on inside of your head. And we talked about it at Alliance because our people, I have no problem separating from clients. Because if they get out of alignment with our core values, it's not an up or down thing.
Right.
But I look at it from the standpoint of, if we're dealing with a client who isn't scheduling his jobs appropriately, and he's calling and everything's always a fire alarm, that pulls a drain on our people. It pulls a drain away from our machine, and we have to protect our people, and we need to continue to move up. And when you step up, you have the tough conversation. I can't tell you every time we've done that, we have landed a bigger and better client. And I don't know if it's just a faith decision, just to be strong and courageous. And I'm not talking about do it out of anger or do it. It's a very well, timed decision and conversation. And so to your point on just take action, dude, that's
and I'll go a step further. I like what Sullivan says. He called it the 4 C's. You're waiting on courage to come, but the courage ain't coming.
Yeah.
You will never take action if you're waiting on the courage to come.
Yeah.
So first you commit. Then there's a period of disorientation.
Right.
This is when the courage is going to show up. It's like, I'm committed now.
Yeah.
We're in. I bought this building. We're going to figure it out. Okay? Then you learn a new capability.
Yeah.
There's another way of saying it. I've learned a new skill. I've expanded my skill set.
Right.
Because of this cycle of commitment, then the courage comes, then the capability, I end up with a new confidence. It's like, I could do this again. We could go over to Cool Springs and do this again. We could go to Murfreesboro and do this again.
Absolutely.
I know how to do it. I know where the money's made. I know how to do it. I know what works and what don't work. I know which contractors to hire and not hire. I know when I take investor money next time, not to pay it out until we actually start making money.
You know what that MEP thing is?
Yeah,
now?
I know what MEP is. It's like, okay, now I got a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing about this place is a lot of people look at this as a pure real estate play. If we brought in an appraiser, because I was talking to one the other day, and I said, how would you appraise? There's the physical space of the Greatness Factory, and then there is intangible assets of the Greatness Factory, of where millions of dollars can be.
Right.
It was here that I was asked to be on the board of director of that publicly traded company.
Yeah.
It was here that I started a private equity firm. It was here that I've been involved in bigger deals. I'm like, how do you measure that in the appraiser?
Right.
Right? He's like, well, there is an intangible asset, and that intangible asset is Coach Burt. And I said, how do you get your mind around a 160 square foot office that we're renting for $6,500?
Right.
But the guy who's in the office is raising $10 million at the Greatness Factory.
Right.
So I'm like, these are real questions.
Yeah.
Because if I were to place a value on this business, there is a business and there's a real estate side of this.
Yes.
Okay, I go over to WeWork and they're renting an office for $167. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I think they call that, and when we sold Jericho, goodwill. It's the goodwill of the business.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Like you said, the intangible things, the people, the name that you're really buying.
Yeah. So there's a value of that. It's like when WeWork was valued at $47 billion, although that was an inflated evaluation, they sold it as a community. It's like, hey, we got 400 locations, we got 400,000 members.
Right.
Okay, it's worth this much money, and they kept raising capital and kept raising up the valuations.
Yeah.
And they're asking the CEO, like, how's it valued at this? And he said, well, let's just be clear. The valuation is really what someone is willing to pay for this.
Yes.
Okay, someone comes along, the building down here in Nashville, he bought for $91,000 in 1991, the Margaritaville building. He sold it for $75 million a couple months ago.
Yeah. I heard a similar story on Tootsie's.
Yeah.
You know, that guy bought that thing back in the early 90s for around that same price. Right. And I think I heard a rumor that when they had the NFL draft here, that he sold somewhere around 250,000 cases of beer in a 3 to 4 day period. I mean, that in itself, how much money did he...
Yeah, it's probably a, who knows, $40, $50, $60 million business a year.
It's incredible. So, as we've discussed, and I think one of the reasons why our relationship has been so good and fruitful it's been about alignment. Yeah. And with Undeniable Mentality, we talk about the 5 pillars, and you talk about the whole person. Same principle: spiritual, physical, mental, personal, professional. Yep. And I feel like you've always done an excellent job, really, from what I've heard, really speaking to that personal and that professional side. And so, a question for you is, what does alignment look like for you in your personal life as a driven dude, on the professional side? Yep. You call it living with a monster, and Micah and I really enjoyed that marriage retreat. It was incredible. And, it's tough living with guys with what's that look like for you? How do you, and I don't use the word balance. Right. We use the word harmony. Yeah. Trying to set expectations in the different buckets of your life and then just executing on them. So what does alignment look like for you in your personal life?
Well, I think of it as, I go back to the whole person theory, right? Yeah. Body, mind, heart, and spirit. Covey used to say, success in one role doesn't justify failure in another role. So let's say that I'm knocking it out of the park as a business guy, but I'm physically not where I want to be. I'm spiritually not where I want to be.
Right.
Now I'm out of alignment.
Yeah.
I'm out of congruence.
Right.
One part of my nature is struggling. So I think about more intentional congruence than balance. How does everything feed everything?
Yeah. Right.
And how do I work the muscle in each area? I just hired a new trainer, because I box and I said, man, I want to lean out a little bit more, and I know it's going to be miserable. So I'm in my second day with him, and first day was miserable. Second day wasn't as bad. We did some more lifting today, but yesterday was all cardio, and almost killed me. And but I know that's good for me.
Yeah.
Because I was in the best shape of my life when I owned equity in a gym.
Yeah.
At an F45. I was in there every morning at 5 a.m. because I was one of the owners. I wanted to see it work. I wanted to participate in it.
Right.
And I can look at those pictures and go, man, I was in great shape.
Yeah.
When I was one of the owners.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you get what happens with people is they look at that and they go, that's going to suck, so I don't want to do it. It's like coaching. Right. It's like I see Coach Burt. He talks about pray drive. I don't want to work like he works, man. So I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like that thought of straining myself is what people are afraid of. Right. Where the truth is we got to work the muscle.
Yes.
The spiritual muscle. I know I'm at my best when I'm in church on Sunday morning.
Yep.
That's me. Okay. Right. Like, I'm not saying people watch it online. It's not different, but I know I need to be there.
Yes.
Okay. I know I'm at my best when I'm in the gym in the mornings.
Yeah.
I know I'm at my best when I'm in bed at night. I know at my best when I'm working, right? Because I travel so much, when I have quality time with my kids.
Right.
Okay. So all of that with my lifestyle is like for the next 3 days, I'm going to be at events on the road.
Yep.
In other cities, right? So I got to really sit down and think, like, how do I make all this work?
Yeah.
In a way that's, healthy.
Yes. Well, and to that point, I always look at personal and professional life. I feel like you've got the 5 areas, but if the personal life, that to me, I mean, the spiritual and the personal side, that's the foundation for everything. And if those are not where they need to be, now I know we talk about mental and it all ties together, but if the personal and the spiritual life that foundation aren't working right, it really short circuits everything. I mean, for me, I'm big on the physical side. I mean, right now, man, I'll be turning 47, May 23rd. We're trying to get my body fat down below 9%.
Wow.
And Coach, it is not.
Wow.
It's hard. It was hard at 25 to do that.
Yeah.
It's really hard right now. And, talking about doing those things that suck. I mean, but, when you do the things that suck,
right,
you rebound the other way.
Right.
And you get that high kickoff of it.
Right.
And that's where that's the whole point of it.
Right.
But, if those two things aren't working right, I just feel out of touch with all of it.
Right.
And so, if we narrow it down to 2 areas, do you feel similar to that if your personal life's in alignment, then that gives you the freedom to go out and attack the professional? Or do you look at it vice versa? Do you look at it from a different standpoint?
No, I think what I see as a coach specifically is that people get stuck personally.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that just creates all of these challenges everywhere.
Right.
I mean, I went through depression and at 25 years old, and it was hard for me to do anything during that period. A guy reached out to me today that I was been on Zooms and different things. Like, I went through a divorce. I'm disoriented. I've lost all my motivation. Like, really a lot of personal problems creates. It's like, man, I can't show up to work here, Josh, on my A game because, man, I got all that's going on, man. I can't pay my bills. I can't figure out how to make more money. I'm frustrated. This person don't believe in me. I'm going through divorce, whatever.
Right.
And it's hard to show up. So I always think like if you're going to be a person of interest, you're going to have to show up with such an energy and force that you can fight through a lot of things.
That's exactly right. And to that point, when you're going through those periods, you will have no motivation. Your emotions are drained.
That's right.
The question is, are you going to do it or not? And I think that's where a lot of people, they just lay down because they're tired.
Yep.
And to be frank, right now, we're going through one of those periods. Work is going well.
Yep.
But when you're going through seasons of growth like we're doing with Alliance, with Undeniable Mentality, I mean, talk about getting out of your comfort zone. I mean, hey, 8 months, how long have we been working together? 8 months?
Yep.
Give or take? 8 months ago, there was no podcast. Now we got freaking logos flying around. I got Janet talk me into wearing a blazer. And she said, don't even wear a hat. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, we have 2 houses right now.
Yeah.
We're remodeling one. We got 2 kids in Brentwood. We got 1 kid going down to school in Murfreesboro. I mean, you talk about feeling out of control.
Yeah.
We are out of control. And I know Micah, she doesn't express it like I do.
Right.
But I know she feels the same way. And so let me ask you this question. When you get in that field, do you have like a inner circle that you lean on? And when you're kind of forming those relationships, what do you look for?
I think I have a great best friend. I have two really good friends. One's conservative. Both of them are a little bit older than me. One's great with money. One's great with business. I think it's good to have those people.
Yeah.
To say, okay, I'm working through this. And then I have a group of friends that kind of are more distant friends.
Right.
Like me and Tim Grover, or me and somebody that's really tough-minded that, can tell if I'm on my A game or not on my A game. Or
They call you out.
Yeah, he'll say, man, you seem tired, or I'm watching you on social. It's like you're improving and growing. And, so I really think you need that people around you.
Yeah.
Right. Like hiring a trainer to work out physically is really just a super accountability partner.
Oh, absolutely.
That just forces you to do things you don't want to do. You go harder, you find another gear. Hiring a coach, you find another gear. Being, in front of other people and coming to show up for coaching, you find another gear. And it's like, it's I know it's uncomfortable at times, but it's like, this is what you need to go to the next frequency.
You have to. We were joking about this literally today. Zach, he was on the show last month, and, really proud of Zach from where he's come from at 22. And, I mean, he's got MLB guys coming to work out with him in the offseason. He's 30 now, and him and his wife just bought their first house. I'm just so proud of him. But we were joking the other day because I've been working out with him for 8 years. Okay. And Friday, I tweaked my back a little bit doing deadlift. Now, we had our group workout, and I like to go in there and work out with our team. And Zach goes, he had left me alone. He said, go do this. And me being me, I felt good that day. So he told me, don't go over this weight. But I'm like, I feel good. And he comes over there, and I tweak my back. And he goes, I knew I shouldn't have left you alone. That's, I've only been injured with him 3 times, and I don't even consider this an injury.
Right.
That's just how good he does, of a good of a job he does, keeping me. Because my issue is I always just want to keep pushing too far. But it's the accountability. Have you in my life to help me with ideas and, say, Josh, what have you done lately?
Right.
We have Leon, who's our executive coach, with helping build out our team. And iron sharpens iron. Yep. It does, and it's just a muscle that you have to just stay on top of all the time. And I think so many people prefer to live a life personally where they surround themselves with yes men. You see that in business all the time. People like CEOs surround themselves with yes men, and then all of a sudden they're in trouble, or the company's in trouble. And I think people are the same way because they want to hear, oh, yeah, and you're doing good, man. Don't worry about it. To that point, when you surround yourself with a truly good friend, they're going to call you out.
Right. That's right.
That, to me, is the epitome of love. A good, love, a friend that's always there thick or thin, or they're there like, hey, man, you're doing too much.
That's right. Yeah, and I think they see that. Yeah. And they say, you could be better at this. Have you thought about this? Have you considered it this way? It's kind of like that person that you can play pitch and catch with.
Yes.
And you can be brutally honest with.
Yes.
Like, this sucks right now, man. I don't want to do it. Or the business ain't working like I want it to. Or this is getting harder and harder to sell. Or it's like, are you blowing steam here? Or are you, because to me, I'm always asking, what business do we need to be in? Right? The coaching business is a want business. It's not a need business. Yeah. It is harder to sell because there's so many people that call themselves coaches. Yeah. So many people watch you. So many people. It's like, here's a good example. I spoke at Arlington, Texas a few weeks ago, and I enjoy the speaking. It's competitive. I can get up and do my thing. And let's just say 20 to 30 people walked up to me and said, I want coaching. Yeah. We still got to call them. We still got to follow up with them. We still got to close them. We still got to convert them.
They're emotionally motivated at that time.
And literally, it's like 10% of the people actually move forward.
I'm surprised it's that high.
Okay. So it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm hungry. I'm like, man, I need to go down and have dinner. I typically eat at the restaurant, at the hotel, right? Yeah. There's 500 people at the conference. Literally all 500 are at the bar. And I told Jana on my team, I said, we should be in the bar business, not in the coaching business.
Getting drunk.
Like, these people are... All of them are at the bar drinking and eating
Right.
30 of them said, I want to coach. And at the end, there'll be 3 that actually move forward.
Right. Did they say it when they were drunk?
Yeah, one guy's like, oh, yeah, man. One girl comes over there and put her arms around me, and it's like, oh, my gosh, you're so incredible. And so I was in our executive meetings yesterday, our leadership meetings, our quarterly leadership meetings, and I just ask a simple question, like, what business should we be in?
Right.
Should we coach 5 or 10 companies?
Yeah.
Where we really go deep?
Right.
For a percentage of equity?
Right.
And help them scale up? Right.
Right.
Do I get in the capital raising business because I'm raising capital?
Right.
And the truth is, on these freaking data centers, you know, if we were for every $16 million raised in the fund that I have, it's about $2.1 million a year to me.
Right.
For every 16 million raised. And that number goes up if we decrease the returns to the investors.
Wow.
And the returns are like 48% right now.
Right.
So if we gave them 35%, that number goes up to $5 million a year. And I'm sitting here looking at it like, okay, what business should we be in?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't diminish, because people hear me say this and they all freak out. Like, oh my God, he's going to quit coaching people. No, I still enjoy coaching the right people.
Yeah.
What I don't enjoy is having to go all over the world, get people excited.
Yep.
Listen to their BS, listen to all the reasons why they can't do it, follow up 7 times.
Yep.
I don't enjoy that.
Right.
I'm kind of over that.
Yep.
So what I do now is I coach really to find the right people I want to partner with.
Yes. So let me ask you this question real quick, and I think this is really important. What is it, because I asked Zach this, I've interviewed Taylor, who he's helped co-host some of these shows. He's done a lot of recruiting over the years. I'm going to ask you this. The people, the 10%, 5%, the 1%ers, whatever, what do you typically see as the building blocks for their life? How they grew up, environment, sports. You know, yeah. Taylor, he said, look, if I've got a kid who's had 4 years of high school varsity athletics or played, he said, typically they're going to do great. Yep. Or they're gonna have a higher probability. That laws of average of them getting out into the world and doing good things go way up. What have you seen?
Yeah, I kind of look for people that come with batteries included.
I got them.
Right, yeah, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know that comes from their psychological scripting of right, like the way I was raised was kind of high prey drive, high need for achievement from my mother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Taught me early, dress up and look like somebody, be somebody in the world, right? Like it's pretty easy for people when they meet me to go, that dude's going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking for that in people.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, they know how to show up. They know how to grow up. They know how to deliver. They don't whine. They don't complain.
Yeah.
But they do have a skill.
Right.
And so it's kind of like what I'm looking for as a person is they got a skill and an ambition. They got a big ambition and they got a hard skill. And so when I detect that in people, they got a consistency about them.
Yeah.
We've got a real estate guy from Cookeville, Tennessee, who shows up every coaching session I do. Paid like $25,000 for his coaching. Drives from Cookeville. He's like, man, I want to talk to you every now and then. You know.
Yeah.
And he shows up consistently. Now I know from his actions, he's going to do something.
Yeah.
He may not be a gazillionaire, but that dude's going to figure out a way to win.
Right.
Some people are going to figure out a way to win with or without you.
Yeah.
With you, they're going to go faster.
Right.
That's really what I'm looking for in people.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, you know, where that comes from. You know, I think naturally there are some people who just have a higher drive and desire to continue to grow. But, you know, I do, and you know, it's funny, I say this now and I still don't feel like I'm ready, and I don't think you ever do. But it's kind of surreal. But, you know, there's a couple of young men that I mentor, disciple, whatever you want to call it. One of them is a very steady analytical guy, which, you know, as an engineering, owner of an engineering firm, we have a lot of those, and typically they don't go get it. But because he played in athletics in college, competitive, there's something about that sets the tone in his building blocks that he knows if he wants to like win he's got to work longer hours. He's got at 3 or 4 o'clock, he doesn't check out anymore. Just the hardwiring of athletics. And I think it also comes down to self-awareness too. You know, the awareness of, which I've really built from, you know, what we've talked about from the Jericho days, which, you know, all that stuff to me seems like it was just kind of like, I mean, it's like a haze back then. Yeah. And it was just 2008. I'm sure I got some PTSD in there somewhere too. But all that kind of led to this self-awareness stage that just continued to build and build and build. And then you start surrounding yourself with guys like yourself. Right. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're doing a podcast one day. And I'm still sitting here going, what the hell am I doing here? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I love every bit of it. Right. And while I know there's still a lot of areas that I need to grow on the podcast stuff, on social media, it's that process that is just so fulfilling. It's a new game. It's also a new game to play. I think, you know, if you've been in the engineering business and you built that, it's like we're all looking for a new game to play in some way that keeps us fresh. Yes. It's like, how do we use this to do this? And this is exciting to me, and I've done this for years, and what's the next big move? Like, to me, building this place was an evolution of, okay, let's take it to another level. Then we build it, then we go, could we build another one? Could we take it to Chattanooga? Could we take it to Cool Springs? Right. Could we take it to Atlanta? Could we, or do we partner with people who already have buildings? Right. Because there's a lot of those. I got a guy in Cleveland, Ohio. It's like, man, I got a building. It's nice. It's not, we're not activating it like you are. Could you teach us how to do it? Could we partner with you? We got the space. You got the know-how. Right. So it's like, that activates the prey drive. It's awesome. Well, all right. So a couple finishers for you. And what is now, we just heard the story on the building, but what is the hardest challenge you have taken on personally or professionally, besides training me? What's the hardest thing you guys? Again, I think I said it on the show when you had me on yours. This dude is so freaking patient. I have texted him early in the morning, at night, and you've always come back with something very uplifting or encouraging. But what's the hardest challenge, all seriousness, I mean, that you've had to take on in your life? I mean, I think a lot of businesses fail, obviously, in the first 5 years. I mean, I'm in year number literally 17 of this business. I know. Playing at the level I've played at over such a long cycle takes its toll on you emotionally. There's a deep emotional tax of showing up for people for years and years and years without burning out. Right. Without going, I'm done. Yeah. Right? I mean, like I said, and nobody set me down, Josh, many years ago, because the new book I have out is called 8-Figure Skills Stuck in 6-Figure Vehicles. Right. Okay. Getting a coaching business to $10 million is in the top zero. I think we've done about $40 million over the last X number of years in the coaching business. Get it, but the pure grind of that cycle over a long period of time. I mean, that puts us in the top 0.0001% of coaching companies. Yeah, and I got to say this too. Speaking of grinds, you do grind. Yeah, and you know, for a long time I thought, and I've told you this, there's something wrong with me. And like I've always said, there are a lot of things wrong with me, but being around you has made me feel better about my push on stuff. I mean, you know, we were at that Living with a Monster retreat, and we broke for lunch, and you're out on the front porch trying to sell. And I'm like, I freaking love that. I just want to sit out here and high five this man. Yeah. And I love that. And, you know, that grind for that long a time. And Alliance, we literally formed that company in March of 2007. Now, it's transitioned in the type of business. Right. But that's 18 years ago. That's right. That we started that company. And although we moved in and out and got when I look at it, because people are like, well, how have you done this so quick? It has not been quick. That's right. And so, I agree with you. So, all right. Undeniable mentality staple question. Okay. Now, we're still developing this question. Okay. But what is one pivotal moment of, and we talk about, like in our white paper, mental awareness. But what is one real pivotal moment of mental awareness that redefines your approach to life in general, whether, and this can be in any of the 5 areas: spiritual, physical, mental, personal, professional. It doesn't have to be, but like for me, I think one of those pivotal moments was when I got into the fitness area. Yeah. And I had gotten to the point, I was just so sick of dealing with anxiety issues and everything else. And I'd gotten to a point in 17 where I was healing back from the stuff I'd gotten into with Jericho, with drinking and anti-anxiety medication. Yep. I'd healed back from that. Yep. And I'm like, I know there's more. Yep. Is there a point in your timeline for you? And I know there's probably a bunch, but is there one that comes to mind?
There's 2. One is in 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. I meet this doctor in Houston, Texas. Yeah. Stephen Hotze, that has this world-class wellness facility. And we're at dinner one night, and I'm coaching him. And I mean, I'm taking energy drinks and eating bad, and I'm just exhausted. And he looks at me one night.
It's all natural. It's all natural, by the way. Yeah. Great company.
But he just looks at me at dinner one night, and he goes, "You're not healthy." Yeah. And I was like the arrogance in me is like, "Who do you think you are?" He's only one of the top doctors in the world. Right. And he said, "You're not healthy." He said, "You go," and I go, "What do you mean? I'm traveling the world. I got energy. People know me for my energy." Right. I was 30 pounds heavier. If you look at the old pictures of me, my face was big, and I just looked bad. And he said, "Come do your blood work tomorrow, and then let's have this talk." I did the blood work. I was low in everything. Yeah. From testosterone to thyroid to T3 to cortisol. I mean, you name it. Yeah. I mean, 10 years later, I would have been completely out. Yeah. That changed my course of everything. Yeah. Okay, so now I get on the health program. I lose 30 pounds. I get the supplements my body needs. I get serious about my health. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's one. The second one is I don't know what prompted me to think about vehicles, like business as vehicles. And is this a vehicle? Yeah. Now, let me give you an example. I've worked this, like I said, I think we did $40 million next number of years of coaching, and but I look at a company like Hitsy, which I'm on the board of directors of, that is relatively new, started 6 years ago, pretty much pre-revenue company. They do have some revenue. Yeah. That's got a market cap of $50 million. And I'm sitting there going, look at how fast that happened. 0 to $50 million valuation. Yeah. What do they have? They got patents. They got a technology. They got a big problem they're trying to solve. You see where I'm going? Yeah, I do. And I'm looking at, look at that vehicle. I do. And my stock in that company could literally be worth $30 or $40 million. Now, would I, if I hadn't did all the coaching, suffered through all the stuff, figured it all, that part out, would they want me to be on the board of directors if I didn't do all that? Probably not. And I probably wouldn't have the stock. Right. So it's like I had to go through this to get to this. But the vehicle is the mechanism you choose to distribute your talents through. Yeah, absolutely. We think of it as work. Yeah. So you look at your business, an engineering business, right? Is that a good vehicle, bad vehicle? Is it hard? Is it easy? Well, and to that point, we're still trying to figure that out. Yeah. We love it because of the change that we see in our people. Yeah. And it's what my degree was in. Yeah. And I feel like we approach everything different in it. But in the end, it's like we always talk about. I know what I want now, but God could change that whole thing in 2 or 3 years. Right. And to your point, it's the 17 years that creates, and as I always use the word, it weathers you. Yeah. And it creates a new formation, Right. In my 20s, I was an animal, man, and not in a good way. Just a lot of energy there that I didn't know what to do with, and time has weathered me. And so when I go in to have a conversation, one of the reasons we got our CFO right now is in his 70s. He worked at HCA for 30 or 40 years with Frist and all these guys. One of the reasons why we were able to get him was because we sat down one day and I was able to explain to him what P&Ls are and what EBITDA. I don't know how to spell it, but I know what it is. But I'm kidding. But I was able to talk to him about the whys of the business, and he could see that it was there. If I didn't go through all the trials and tribulations, that what's the right word? That just realness
that just comes through, and it's the same thing with you. When you speak, there's a realness, there's a depth and a foundation there. So, Coach, it's been a joy today,
Yeah, man.
As
this
always,
is awesome.
I love our conversations.
Yeah.
What do you think about the logo?
I love it. I think it's right. I think it's everything it should be.
So you think no hat or hat? You like that? Maybe mix it up,
I like the hat in that image there.
but not on the podcast.
I mean, either way.
Either way, see,
Yeah.
this is the stuff we talk about, man, and this is legit stuff.
Yeah.
Coach Burt's going to be involved in a lot of our events. We've got a couple coming up this year. We've got one in October, and then we've got an Undeniable Summit coming up early January. I believe it's Saturday, January 4th, 2025. We're going to be launching a lot of social media. And to that point, Coach, where can people find you if they want to reach out, get some coaching, or
CoachBurt.com. CoachBurt.com, all social medias, but CoachBurt.com is where they can download. I did a free expansion, psychology of expansion boot camp that people can get.
Yeah.
I teach every month here at the Greatness Factory live, so I'm teaching tomorrow and Thursday of this week. People can buy singular tickets to come to those things, or we really want them to be in a program where there's a systematic way, but they can come taste the ice cream.
Taste the ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to add this for you, man, just because he's a good man. And that's one thing that, we looked for and we always look for in our coaches is substance.
Yep.
And definitely plenty of substance there. And if he can put up with me, trust me, he can put up with you. Trust me.
Thank you.
But guys, we appreciate you watching. If you want to continue to see more just unbelievable people who are living undeniable lives, come and listen to their stories and learn from them. Come on back. We're going to be launching a podcast episode about once a month. We will continue to pick up that action, but look forward to seeing you next time. Go be undeniable.